Welcome to another Learn, Grow, Invest meeting. I'm Renee, co-founder of the community. We are an investment community founded on Deuteronomy 8:18, which says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." We focus on learning, sharing our expertise and experiences with others. We also partner with the wider finance community and will have guest presenters come and share with us like we do today. So to join this community, feel free to subscribe to this channel or follow us on Twitter, IG, or Facebook. Our Learn, Grow, Invest merch, like right here, is also now available for ordering because the shirts are here, guys. They are here. And the link is in the description, excuse me, of this video. We host or investor link ups. That's what this is, every Thursday, where we cover every investment topic imaginable. So you guys come with the ideas, come with the requests, and we try to make it happen for you. If you're interested in a topic, leave us a comment under the video or send us a DM through any of our social media pages, and we will seek to cover it in the future. So tonight, this evening, we'll be talking about mastering our budget with none other than Miss Jillian Jackson from financialsensibility.com. And of course, at Learn, Grow, Invest, our focus is financial education. So anything shared here today is not to be taken as financial advice. So with that, I would like to open with a word of prayer, and then we will jump right in. Let us pray. Mighty God, we give you thanks for another evening, another week, another opportunity to meet together like this, Lord God. We pray, Lord, that your hand and your covering will be over the technology, over our guests, and all that pertains to them, Lord God, or audience as well. We pray, Lord, that everything shared here today will be beneficial, will be taken in context, will be taken in with the right attitude, with the openness, and be applied in a way that will help us, each and every one of us, to build a stronger financial foundation. So we put this in your hands, Lord, and we thank you for this opportunity and this ability to produce wealth that you have given us. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen, guys. All right. So I'm very excited and happy to introduce our guest this evening. She's no stranger to the Learn Grow platform, and she's no stranger to the financial sector for sure, seeing that she has indeed been in the financial sector for 15 years, over 15 years, guys. She doesn't look it, but she has been there. Jillian Jackson is a financial blogger, and her goal is to play a part in improving Jamaica's financial literacy. That goal has inspired her to launch a blog called financialsensibility.com, where she raises awareness on the lesser known aspects of common financial decisions, such as purchasing a home, applying for an auto loan, and the benefits of having a pension plan. Very important stuff, among other interesting financial topics. So if you have not yet done so, we invite you to go to the link financialsensibility.com. We'll share it in the description of this video, and check out her content. It's very solid. She has a number of templates that she freely shares. And with that, we welcome Miss Jilly J. Welcome, Jilly.
Hi, Rena. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me this evening. And welcome to everyone from the Learn, Grow, Invest community and the wider Jamaican and diaspora population. I'm happy to be here. All right. I'm hoping you're seeing me well. I'm kind of maneuvering like 3 screens right now, so hoping that I can get the best out of this tonight. So today I'll be talking to you, or right now I'll be talking to you about mastering your budget. And I'm gonna share my screen. All right, let's see, screen 2. There we go. So hopefully you're seeing it now. Mastering your budget. Oh, that's the topic of today's conversation. So earlier this year, I think it was January, I shared with you on successful tips towards the road to financial freedom. And the second step, for those who were not present, just a little refresher, the second step towards the journey to financial freedom is establishing a budget. It's such an important part of the journey. And I'll tell you a little bit more why soon. But establishing a budget is so important in achieving your financial goals, boosting your financial wealth, and overall just having a better life. Because having a budget is like the baseline of your financial decisions. So part one in my presentation today is about goal setting. So goal setting is the first step in developing a personal financial budget. And what does goal setting entail? So the first step in goal setting, I would say, is to think big. Think big. And for those of us who are here with us, I'm looking in the chat. I want you guys to share with me, what are some of the goals you have for the future? We kind of touched on some last time, but just to refresh our memories, some of us have the same goals, and it really depends on where you are in your life journey. If you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, everyone has different goals, which generally tend to be around the same at different parts in our life journey. So what are your goals for the next 5 to 10 years? And we can think about it in the context of our career, our financial goals, our education, our families, physical pleasure and volunteering. So where do you want your career to be in the next couple of years? Where do you want to go? Perhaps you have to put in some work. You have to invest in some courses, do some upskilling to be able to reach where you want to get in your career. That's going to cost money. Suppose you have financial goals like being able to invest more, being able to have a pension plan in place. Those financial goals, of course, definitely are going to cost money. Suppose you have educational goals. You want to go back to school, you want to do your master's, you want to acquire a new degree. Definitely going to cost money. Well, there are scholarships, but it's generally never completely free to do a degree program. So if your educational goals may cost money as well. Suppose you have family goals. You want to start a family. That is definitely gonna cost money. I can tell you that. And it's not a little bit of money either. So whatever goals you have, you see a trend here. I hope you're noticing the pattern. It's gonna cost money. Physical, if you want to get fit, you probably have to get a gym membership included in your budget. That's gonna cost money. You want to take a vacation in the future, travel and visit Dubai and Bora Bora, definitely gonna cost money. And even if you want to volunteer, time is money. So if you're giving up your time, that it costs something. You're giving up something else to be able to volunteer. So all of these goals, in essence, it costs you something. So putting a plan in place on how you're going to budget for all of those costs, when you start thinking about your goals, you probably have to try and start prioritizing which ones are the most important, which ones you need to get done based on what you want to achieve and set out in your journey of life. Which ones do you think are going to get you there the fastest? So when you do this goal setting exercise, it kind of helps you to put yourself in the frame of mind to prioritize what goals you're going to achieve and put some real plans in place to be able to achieve them. So that's part one of goal setting. Part two, now that after you thought big, now it's time to think small. So you're going to break down those big goals that you set, like, finishing your degree or buying a car, buying a house. You have to break those down now into smaller bite-sized goals, right? So the smaller goals should be broken down into smarter bite-sized pieces. And some of you may have heard this acronym before, SMARTER. SMA, SMART or SMARTER, SMART goals. So SMART goals are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So SMART goals. You want to ensure that you have goals that are very specific, measurable, something that you can actually achieve, it's realistic, and you put a time frame on it. So an example of some of those SMART goals I have on the screen here, like to save $360,000 to do my master's in 3 years, to save $500,000 towards a down payment on a car in 2 years, or to invest $100,000 in stocks by the end of the year. So those are examples of goals that are SMART. So they're very specific, measurable, you put a time frame in place. And then when you have these goals broken down, for example, the first one into a year, 3-year period, you break those goals down even further to make it more manageable and put it in a sense that you can grasp a little bit easier. For example, for the 3 years, the master's in 3 years, $360,000 in 3 years, that means $120,000 in 1 year. That means $10,000 in 1 month, $2,500 in 1 week, 300 and something dollars in 1 day. So when you break it down like that, you can set the path in place to be able to achieve your goals and to put it in bite-sized chunks to get there. Sorry about that. All right, so question, do you guys have a budget in place? Do you guys have a budget in place? And I want you guys to answer me. If you're on YouTube, I'm looking, do you have a budget in place? Some saying yes. All right. Last time I'd asked this question, I got a lot of C's. I got a lot of C's. So I'm hoping that you're here today so that we can change those C's to A's, right? So you'll have a budget put in place, and we can get started on achieving your goals, whether or not they're financial or otherwise. So I'm glad for those who said no, that's fine. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you'll be able to put the steps in place to get one by understanding how important it is through this presentation. All right, so what is a budget? What is a budget? So a budget is basically just a template outlining your income and your expenses over a period of time. So hold on, having a bit of a delay here. So you have your income and your expenses and your savings. And the goal is, in essence, to balance this budget. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So it's a statement outlining your income and your expenses and savings over a specific period of time. So most of us would budget on a monthly increment. I look at what my budget and expenses is, and it's normally tied to what your income is. So some of us will maybe have a bi-weekly income or fortnightly income, and you can budget according to your income. Many of us would have a monthly income, so we budget that way as well. Others have inconsistent income, like if you work on commission, but if it's paid at a specific period of time, then you can budget according to that period of time. That's what's usually done, but there are many places that will have like an annual budget, and but I feel like if you break it down into smaller pieces, if you have the monthly budget, then you're more likely to hold yourself accountable for what is in your budget. So putting it down, putting the plan in place, putting pen to paper and writing what you expect to get as your income, and really taking stock of your income and looking at what are all the sources of your income. Not just your pay, that's one source of your income, but there may be others that you're not even aware that you should be including in your income, on the income part of your budget. And then looking at your expenses with some serious scrutiny. So doing a budget involves analyzing every single expense and looking where you can cut those expenses. And I've gotten some testimony from some of my Twitter family already since I started putting out these templates about 2 years ago, that it really, some of them said, boy, when I do Miss Gilly J's budgets, it really slapped me in my face. So it just brings your life into perspective. It brings the reality in front of you. You might not know how much you're spending, you might not know how much you're earning, and you might not know how much you have available to save. And when I get to the saving part, one of the things that I'm a proponent of is paying yourself first. So how would you know how much to pay yourself if you don't know how much you're getting and how much you have to pay yourself? So a budget is, in essence, a tool to help you plan for the future and a guide to spending and saving. It helps us to manage our money well and to save for investing and reaching our financial goals. Those are all the things that a budget can assist you in doing. Again, why do you need a budget? This is a saying that I live by, I live and breathe by. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I say it all the time. I've been saying this for years, and it applies to so many different things, but definitely your budget. If you can't measure what you're doing, then it's difficult for you to manage what you're doing. You can't get a true sense of your finances and a true path to achieving your goals if you're not budgeting. And I know some people say, oh, that's not necessarily true, but I'm telling you, if you have the tools to be able to do it and you can do it, it may open your eyes. It may give you an idea of how you can find that extra space, how you can get that extra income to achieve that specific goal that you want, whether or not it's buying a house, even if it's just that you want to save more for retirement or in a pension plan. You need to understand where you can cut those expenses from to be able to do it. And everyone can budget. It doesn't matter how much you earn. Everyone can put away a little bit, a little 200, a little 500, and you'd be amazed at how that can grow if you save it and invest it right. So it's an activity that's not exclusive to a specific demographic. Everyone can budget, and everyone has the capacity to be able to understand their expenses and income and put away a little bit for a rainy day. So your budget shows where your money goes. It lets you see how much you earn, reveals the areas that you have been overspending. I know some of us don't like to face that reality, but it definitely does help do that. And it allows you to live within your means. So I'll speak about balancing the budget a little bit later, but if you have done this exercise and you see every month consistently that your expenses are exceeding your income, then it's time to really take a step back and do some things to help adjust that and address that. And it helps you to set priorities. So where are your priorities? You may have children, you may have school, you may have other activities, your volunteer work. Where are your priorities, and how do you put a plan in place to ensure that you're achieving your goals by priority? Of course, a budget can also help you get out of debt. Some of us might have that credit card debt or some other debt types that are really putting a noose around us. And for us to be able to really see how we can pay off that debt, a budget is probably the best tool to get started with. It's free to do. It's easy once you have the templates, which I'll go through, and it will open your eyes. So I strongly encourage everyone to bring budgeting as a part of their activities. It doesn't have to be every day. You can do it weekly, monthly. At least I recommend, for you to hold yourself accountable, you have to look at it at least once a month. But putting it in place will also help you put your expenses in context of your income, and help you to plan for emergencies. Simply put, a budget is a fundamental component of proper financial management. All right. So, this kind of summarizes what I was saying before. A budget can help you get out of debt, plan your resources. It can motivate you. I know when I did my budget, I was motivated to say, no, I need to save, definitely spend less and save more. And again, help you achieve your long-term goals, understand how much you earn, and of course, save and invest more, which are things I think persons in this community are very interested in knowing how to do, right? So this I kind of touched on the last time, but I'll go through it again. There's a rule that many people abide by, and an exercise that we have to undertake in budgeting is to understand the difference between our needs and our wants. And doing so will help us to identify and eliminate unnecessary spending and help us to kind of apportion our budget in a way where it is more realistic for us, and we can identify the areas where if the needs are exceeding the things that our wants are exceeding the needs, then you know that we're in problems, right? So the needs should be at least 50% of your budget, and those are food, shelter, transportation. Those are examples. Wants like clothes, fast food, electronics, and parties. Not many people are partying these days, but if you're one of those underground partiers and you're spending a lot of money, that would be under your wants. And then the savings, and including your pension, should be at least 20%. And this is not hard and fast. Of course, it really will depend on your age and stage of life and your circumstances. And of course, some persons will have a 10% for their tithes. So this is not a hard and fast thing at all, but it is just a guide that in general, you should be spending 50% on your needs, and then putting at least 20% towards savings and long-term investment planning. All right. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay. Putting away funds for rainy day would dry up because of COVID. Yeah, I see that a lot of people had to draw on their emergency funds. But once you're well, I'll speak about income in a second, about different ways to earn income. But yeah, once you're earning income and you do have a way of getting money in, it's definitely good to budget a piece of it and have an emergency fund, which I'll come up to in a minute, that will help to support those rainy days. All right, so what are the types of income? So how can you identify what to put under the income? There are 3 types of income generally. There's active income, passive income, and portfolio income. As the name suggests, active income is income from a job that you go to, your side hustle, something that you actually have to put in work and generally physically be there or virtually be there and have deliverables to be able to get the income. So that's your job, your side hustles. You can include in commissions, incentives, or bonuses, depending on how you get paid. So that's, you're actively working. I'm not going to tell anybody which one is the best type of income, but I'll give you a hint to look at the picture and look who is the happiest out of these 3 men. All right. So there's active income. Then there's passive income, which you generally get from ownership in a business, or if you have rental income from a property that you own, if you have royalties, or even your YouTube channel. That's a newer type of passive income that a lot of Jamaicans have gravitated towards. Well, not only Jamaicans, people all over the world, but I see a lot of the Jamaican community starting their YouTube channels to get some passive income. Not a bad way. And then portfolio income, it's a subset of passive income, which includes capital gains, share appreciation, stocks, and currency exchange appreciation as well. So there are different types of income, and these are just a few of them. Of course, there's many others, but anything that you get, including dividends, you can consider that under your income and use it in your budget when you're calculating all of your income. All right. And of course, when you have those types of income, you have to think about your gross income when you're doing your budget, or your net income. So my budgeting template is designed for your net income. I'll go to it in a second. So your net income, your income after all the taxes that you pay, and there are many taxes that we have to pay. For those of you who like to put your statutory deductions, so your PAYE, etc., in your budget so that you know how much you pay in taxes each month. That can be accommodated too, but I don't like that type of negativity. So I just look at my net income and I do my budget based on my net income after taxes. So of course, gross income before tax, net income after tax. Randy says this picture is such an accurate picture of Jamaican tax. So true, Randy. So true. So for the active income types, you'd have to pay PAYE, ed tax, NHT, NIS. For passive income, if you own a company or if you run a company, of course, you have to pay the corporate taxes before you get your share. You have to pay, if you own a property, you pay transfer tax and stamp duty on properties to transfer it. So just thinking about the different passive income types and the type of tax that you'd probably have to pay. And of course, you pay tax on dividends, but we don't have capital gains tax. So there are some income types that are definitely more attractive than others. And so you have to think about that. Think about all the income that you're getting and think about how the taxes that you pay, what do you get after those taxes, and you can use that as the starting point of income for your budget. So now that we have a good picture of income, let's look at expenses. Did I miss out anything with income? All right, so expenses. So everyone knows that there are expenses will vary for every single person. There's no two people that will have the same exact type of expenses. I just kind of categorize them this way, fixed and variable, because when you're doing your budget, the variable is where you tend to start to see how you can cut down on those variable expenses. But either of what is on the screen can be switched across to the other column. So your loan repayments, if it's a credit card, that can be variable. Your tuition, your children's tuition, the childcare fees might go up and down, so it might be variable. But in general, these types of payments, expenses are fixed. So like your internet or your cable, your mortgage or your rent, your tuition or childcare, if you have that, your gym fee would be fixed. And then the variable expenses will include like the utility bills, your water bill, your GPS bill, your transportation costs, etc. And those are, so when you're thinking about your budget and where you can cut expenses, people gravitate towards the variable expenses. But it's possible to also cut your fixed expenses if you have that expensive cable package where you have every single channel, including all the sports channels. You can think about whether or not you need all of that. How frequently are you watching it, and can you watch it online? So do you need all of those expensive cable packages? Your loan repayments with the specific one of credit cards. If you're repaying those high interest credit cards, you can always cut that expense down to either if you're not being able to carry that credit card debt, you're not paying it off consistently and you're not paying off your credit card in full. So that means you're paying 35 to 45 or 50% interest on that credit card debt. Then that is an expense that you do not need. You can definitely cut that one by either refinancing that expense or paying off that credit card or getting a lower interest rate card. So there are definitely fixed expenses that can be cut as well. Negotiate your rates to cut if you need to. If you see that mortgage rates are now 6.5%. My friend told me yesterday she got a quote for 6.5% as her mortgage rate. So if your rate is 10%, you need to start shopping around. You need to start going to some financial institutions and say you need to refinance your loan because you can't be paying 10 when the market is giving 6. So that's one way. Rent, if you're realizing that your rent is more than your mortgage or more than a mortgage could, you can think about doing that instead because you'll actually have an asset at the end. Or if your rent is escalating, you can think about moving to another area to help save on some of those rent costs. Your transportation costs, I'm sure some people happy for COVID in that sense because they don't have to be spending this ton of money on gas to go to the office anymore. So the transportation costs, you can always carpool or do other things to help cut those down. And the utility bills, like when you're doing your ironing and stuff, you can iron one time to ensure you're not running up the light bill, ensure you don't leave the water running. So, when you start seeing these things and seeing how they're trending and how high they are, you really start to think about where you can cut so that you can have a lifestyle that you want, and make sure you pay yourself first with what you need to pay yourself. Yes, I agree, Ricardo. So a credit card can definitely be a good tool. I have more than one credit card and I use them very effectively. I don't pay a cent in interest. I don't pay a cent. The only thing I pay is the annual fee, and one of them they even waive the annual fee, so they don't get $1 off of me. So I pay off my credit card in full, and I get all of the rewards. I get all of the airline miles. I get everything because I pay off my bill in full, and I use the card wisely. So yes, I agree. It can be a good tool if used effectively, but when you're paying, if you don't pay off the balance in full, and if you spend on it what you don't have, that's when you get put in problems, and you're paying 45% interest. So, right. So now that you have an understanding of your expenses, so when you go through the exercise to really understand what your expenses are, you can go on my website, which I'm going to bring up in a second here. It's financialsensibility.com. Here it is in the browser, financialsensibility.com. And then you click on, let me make it a little bigger. I don't want to lose my screen. And then you click on calculators, financial calculators at the top. And you can click on, you download the daily expense tracker. That's what I'm looking at now, daily expense tracker, and then the budget template 2021. So these two Excel files are Excel files. So when you click on it, it will open an Excel file and you download them, and they will look, the expense tracker will look like the table that's on the screen now. So how I've done it is at the expense tracker, and maybe it would make sense to actually just bring it up. The expense tracker, I'll walk you through it. You guys are like probably the only persons that I've ever actually walked through my template with. So the first page kind of just gives an idea of how to fill it out. The second page is a dashboard. So once you start to populate the expenses in each of the sheets here, January to December, the dashboard will populate and show you the total you spend each month. A pie chart will come up here with the percentage of expenses. The categories will populate here. So whichever categories that you've put in each sheet, there's a summary that's picking it up from each sheet, and then this dashboard is built off of the summary. So it categorizes it by expense type, and then the dashboard shows how those expenses are trending over time. So this is the total, and then this is the average, and then I've also included payment types. So if you look at the sample page, so I have a column for the category, which is feeding from the table over to the right. So the table to the right is where if you want to edit a category and put something else, you can change it over here, and then it will turn into one of the items in the drop-down list under the category column. So it's a drop-down list that's reading from the list over here. So you can actually select which category you're recording an expense for. I do this once a week, so I'll go in here once a week. What I do is I save my receipts. So wherever I get receipts from, I keep them in my purse for 1 week, and then one day I'll take all them out and just go through and itemize what I've spent, and anything that I spend cash on and get a receipt. If I don't get a receipt for it, I'll kind of just make a mental note or make a note in my planner, and I'll come back to it and record it on my expense tracker. So anything that I spend on, I put here, and I put what I used when I was purchasing it. So if I was using my credit card, my debit card, if I did an online transfer, if I used my gas card, I made a note of how it was paid for. And what I do too is I use this to go back and balance my credit card bill. So they can't pay me, they can't charge me for anything twice, and they cannot overcharge me on my credit card bill. And I've picked it up more than once where they have. So I use this to go back to my credit card bill and check all of the transactions to make sure that what I know that I've spent on was actually a transaction on my credit card. Now we have the alert, so it's not so bad. I kind of probably stacking off a little bit actually, because we have the alerts whenever a transaction comes in on your credit card. But when those interest charges and those finance charges, they can't play with me. One time I was short by 1 cent or something like that, and they charged me the full amount of interest. And when I finished call there, they had to take everything off. So it was a rounding error or something like that, or I rounded it down instead of up. And yeah. So if you're short by 1 cent, they'll charge you all of the interest. So you have to be mindful. And I watch my credit card statement like a hawk. They're not getting a dollar more out of me. So yeah, this is the budget that you can go on my website and download and customize how you want it. There's a sample page here, and then you can it will update on the dashboard. So I track my expenses in Excel because I am an Excel nerd like that. And I like to be able to slice and dice my data and do my dashboards and stuff like that. So I love Excel, so I don't mind tracking it that way. But some of you may not be such big fans of Excel. And so you might like to do it an easier way, which is to use an app. And there are lots of them out there. There's Tip Yourself, there's Mint, You Need a Budget. There are so many different expense tracking apps that are easy to just pick up. You can even scan barcodes sometimes, and you just put in what you spent on, and it will amalgamate all of that spending for you and help to translate that into your budget. So if this is more of your speed, then that's something that you can do every time you spend money on something. Just pop it in your app on your phone, and at the end, I know some people swear by this. That's how they prefer to do it because they can't bother with Excel. But I love Excel, so to each his own. All right. So yeah, we spoke about some, but I wanted to hear from you guys. If anybody wanted to share in the chat, what are some tips for reducing expenses in any of the following categories? I kind of mentioned some. The credit card, I'm passionate about that. So I told you a few of those. Home repairs, eating out, groceries, medical, utilities. I spoke about making sure that the water is turned off and that you iron once for the week when you're doing your ironing to help reduce those utility bills. I spoke about not getting that expensive cable package if you're not using all of the channels. Change out your bulbs to fluorescent lights, turning off the lights when they're not in use, limit how many times you open the fridge, and defrost if you need to. Yeah, use the JPS app. Good one, Chike. You can use the JPS app and help to understand your utility, your electricity utility. And yeah, definitely cook at home. You'd be surprised. The same thing that you're buying out on the road, you can cook for a quarter of the price, even probably less. Yeah, definitely. I pack my lunch too. People still see me walking with lunch kit. I just make sure my lunch kit look very nice and cute. It's a gold lunch kit, but I walk with my lunch kit every day. I bring my food because I cannot manage these out of road prices, especially if you try to eat healthy. It's hard to eat healthy out of road. So pack your lunch. I don't have a problem walking with my lunch kit and my water bottle like I'm in prep school. All right. Yeah, the LED lights, definitely a big one for sure. Any others? All right. All right. So now we looked at tracking the expenses. So let's look at actually creating a budget now. So on the same website, you can go and download the budget template. That's the one I showed on the screen now is an example of one where you put in your income and expenses. The other one that I have up here is the one that I use the one that you can download from my site. Oopsie, where did it go? All right, so this one also has a sample page where you can look at it. You can look at an example of what you should have. So you can put in your net income after taxes, any extra income you may get, or bonuses, or dividends, anything else that you get as income. You'd put it here. What you project to happen. So you'd update this monthly. So you have a tab for each month. You put what you project to get before. So you do your budget before. And then when you actually get it, you put what you actually get, so you can track the difference between what you project, especially if you work on commission, what you project to get and what you actually got. And then when you itemize it by type, so these are the same categories that were on the expense tracker, you estimate what you projected to get, and then the actual is actually reading from the tracker. So there's a formula that I love in Excel called VLOOKUP. And what it's doing, I'll just type it from scratch if this will allow me to. No. All right, so it's called VLOOKUP. And what you're doing is actually looking up the category. Formula being wonky. Let's start over. It's called VLOOKUP. I'm teaching you a little bit of Excel. This is part of my Excel class. I teach how to do these type of formulas. And then I know it's in the wrong row, but I'll change it in a second. So you're looking up the actual category heading, and then you can go back over to the expense tracker, which is here. And your search, you can search across the category. Oh, let's go here. Search here. You're searching over in the category and you want to pick up what is in the second column. So the VLOOKUP formula, the next thing that you're taking is the number 2. And then it asks if you want an exact match or approximate match. And we want an exact match, so we put false. I know this is complicated. I'm just giving you an idea of what the formula is doing. It's already built in if you don't load it. But what it's doing, it's searching the other sheet for the actual money that was spent, and then it comes back over here. So yeah, I did the wrong row, but in essence, you can use the expense tracker and the budgeting templates together. So you bring in what you project, you have what you project, and then you bring in what you actually spent, and it will update automatically based on the expense tracker. And you can easily see the difference by category. So right away, I know that maybe some emergency happened with my car and I had to have an emergency car repair, which is why I'm so over on the car budget. And then maybe somebody's birthday came up that I didn't expect, or some gifts I had to spend on, so I'm over on that category. But I'm under, I have my savings there too. I'm under my groceries. I don't know, maybe I decided to go on a diet this month, so I didn't spend as much as I projected to spend in my groceries. So that's the type of assessment you do. You just look at your expenses, look at where the reds are. That means you're overspending in those categories. And kind of put a plan in place. How am I going to bring that down, or how am I going to shuffle things around? So this is the first time. You don't want to shuffle it around every month, but the first time you're doing it, it really should give you an eye opener, showing you that, what you think you're spending in something is not what you're actually spending. And how can you shuffle around these projections or your expenses to ensure that you don't overspend in certain categories, right? All right. So again, this is the budget template. You can download it from the site and it will give you an idea of what you're spending. And someone asked for the link for the budget template and it was posted in the chat. It's also my name. It's financialsensibility.com. It's on the bottom of here, financialsensibility.com/calculators. And you can download it and you can customize it how you would like it, right? So this is an example of a budget template. There are several others out there. As I said, I use the net income. You might prefer to use gross income and track all of your statutory deductions. And you might have many different income types you want to track individually. It really is customizable for you, which is why I like it. And again, there are online budgeting templates as well, or online apps that can help you to budget if you don't like Excel. So now that we've done our budget and put it together, what kind of habits do we possibly need to adjust? So in order to have good saving and budgeting habits, or saving habits rather, some of the things that we should put in place are to do salary deductions and standing orders. Again, when you're doing a budget or when you're trying to allocate expenses, you should definitely try to pay yourself first. And how you pay yourself first could be in the form of a salary deduction to your savings or investment account, or a standing order from your bank account to that savings and investment account. So those are two options to ensure that you put away your savings first and you're practicing you have good financial discipline in practicing in sending the money to save. And again, you can negotiate your bills. So if you realize, wait there, this credit card bill is way too high, I need to find a way to bring it down, you can negotiate your rate or refinance it, because there are so many credit card options out there. You don't need to stick to any credit card paying you 55% if you pay, so having 55% interest. If you're not able to pay it off, you can refinance to an unsecured loan that has 15% interest. So that's another strategy you can think about. Negotiate your bills. If you have a mortgage rate that's extremely high, I know people that have done it. Their rate is 16% on odd when the market rates are 6. Go and talk to your mortgage company or refinance your loan. You don't need to be paying such a high interest rate, and that's for any loan type. If you have a loan that is even an auto loan that has a high rate, like you shouldn't be paying anything way above market rate, which is about 6 or 7%. No, you shouldn't be paying anything above that for a auto loan. So if you have high interest rate debt, ensure that you negotiate those and bring them down. Again, pay yourself first. I said that already. Develop an emergency fund, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the next slide. Then you're going again use your budget to slim down your spending. So we showed an example of where you can see where you overspent, how you can think about strategies on how you're going to slim down on those areas that you're overspending. If it's eating out, start packing that lunch kit. I can give you an Amazon link to a cute lunch kit for you to start packing. And then pay down high interest debts and pay your debts on time. So it's not only paying them down, but paying them on time will give you a leg up, because paying them after they are due does not help you. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It can actually hurt you, because it can hurt your credit score and impact your ability to access financing in the future. So pay your bills on time and pay them in full if you can. For the credit card, if you pay just the monthly payment, you'll be in problems. The minimum monthly payment, you'll be in problems. So pay your debts as much as you can and pay down the high interest rate ones first, and refinance if you find that you're still struggling. The 30-day rule. So remember we had that slide with the categories of needs and wants. If your wants, if it's something that you want and you're not sure about it, you're on the fence, wait 30 days and see if you still feel that way. So if it's a pair of new shoes, if it's a new phone or something that you just want, you don't need it, you want it, just the 30-day rule is wait 30 days. If you still want it after the 30 days, then you should think about getting it. But that kind of gives you some discipline and helps you to take a step back and say, do I really want, it's not need that, do I really want this? And then make your money work for you. So you're in a financial investment community. They have many forums on how to do that. That's outside my area of expertise, but you should definitely think about investing to make your money. Remember the guy who was the happiest out of the 3, he makes his money work for him. He's getting passive income that's not stressing him out. So your emergency fund, of course, is something that you should also put some money away. And it depends on your stage in life. This emergency fund should create a safety net in case of some of the things that we were discussing earlier, like COVID coming, job losses, illnesses, or other expenses that are unexpected. So that's what the emergency fund is for. And that is a different specific fund that is easy to access, and it can be in the form of a credit card, but it should be repaid. You can have the credit card, but still have the emergency money put away. And if you need to use the credit card in case of an emergency, at least you have the money to back it up when you need to. So it avoids you to get into high interest debt in the event of an emergency. And this is kind of a general guideline, how much you need to save in your emergency fund. If you're single and you don't have any dependents, then 3 months of expenses. So when you do your budgeting exercise and you understand your expenses, you should save 3 months of that in an emergency fund that can be accessed in the case of an emergency. And if you have a dual income family and dependents, at least 6 months. And if you are a single income family with health issues or older retired persons, you should have 8 to 12 months of living expenses put down in an emergency fund that can be accessed easily in the case of an emergency. All right, so to summarize the budgeting tips, track your income, track your expenses, definitely. Apportion it to your needs and wants, which was the 50-30-20 rule, needs, wants, and savings. Create your budget using the budget templates or using an app, which I'm not particular to anyone, whichever one suits you. Pay yourself first. Start your emergency fund and do not wait. The earlier you start, the better. And I kind of touched on that the last time. So go back to the last video if you didn't watch it on the power of compound interest and why it's better to start earlier. All right, so now on updating your budget. So when you do what I kind of just outlined and determined all of your income and all of your expenses. I just saw a very important point in the chat. Negotiate car insurance. That's a good one. So any insurance that you have to pay, you should negotiate it or use your broker to shop around. And I know most of us are used to paying insurance once for the year, so you have to save up for it. There are options now that allow insurance premium financing, so you can get insurance payments to be paid over 9 months, I think, or more. Some of them have more than 9 months. You can pay it once a month. So insurance is no longer this heavy upfront expense. You can actually apportion it over months. So when you're doing your budget and you have the insurance, if you have the insurance locked in as an item, you can actually negotiate that and speak to the brokers that allow you to pay monthly if that's what you can manage. So yeah, again, balancing your budget. So of course, we've taken a stock of our income and our expenses. And for what we're trying to do at all times is to increase our income and to reduce our expenses and increase our savings. So in general, that should be our life goals. Increasing income, reducing expenses, increasing savings in general. I know some people want to minimize maximize their expenses. As I get more income, they get more expenses, lifestyle creep. But you should do your best to reduce as much as possible your expenses so that you can have more for saving and investing and achieving those long-term goals. So remember, we're back to the goal setting. That's the reason why we're doing all of this, not for fun and games. We have goals, we need to achieve them. We can't do them without money. So we need to put our savings plan in place to be able to achieve those goals. So what are some ways we can increase our income? There are several. You can invest more. You can, make sure you get a licensed financial advisor. I am not one. So get a licensed financial advisor to talk to you more about investing and how you can get better rewards from your investments. You can use a skill or a hobby to earn, like use your side hustle. We spoke about side hustles a little bit earlier. So turn your side hustle into something or turn your hobby into something that you can get paid for. Or get a part-time job. I know that's not something that's popular out here, but know that we're all remote and online. The world is your oyster. Like, there's so many opportunities out there. If you really put your ears to the ground, you can increase your income with a part-time job if you have that capacity, or start your business on the side. And of course, to reduce expenditure, you're just going to look at where you're doing unnecessary spending, all those subscriptions that you have. Are you using your Amazon Prime every month? Are you using your, Hulu? I don't know what everybody's subscribing to these days. All those apps on your phone that you caught that costing money. Every little thing adds up. So take a real dispassionate look at everywhere that you're spending and really understand where that money is going and how you can reduce those unnecessary expenses. And it might be as drastic as moving from where you live now. So there are different strategies that we can employ to really balance our budget and have more for our savings. Again, so you should use your budget to plan your expenses for the year. So you're going to do this exercise once and say, okay, I'm going to budget I know my income is X. I'm going to budget it out by these categories for the year. And then when you track your expenses, it says daily. Again, I do it weekly, but if you have good discipline, you can do it daily. Track your expenses so that you can know what you're spending, compare it to your income, and do a monthly review of your budget versus expenses. So pick up your monthly budget, look at what is going on. You have to hold yourself accountable. Nobody else is going to hold you accountable for what you're spending. You have to hold yourself accountable, and you're doing it by picking up your budget every month and taking an assessment of what you've been spending and what categories you can possibly reduce your expenses. Assess how you've been progressing, and don't reward yourself too much when you save more than you've earned. So no rewards yet. So save a lot, as much as you can. Look at this exercise as one that will help you to achieve your goals. And if you need to, update them, update your expense categories. Life is not static, neither should your budget be. So things can change. Suppose you get an increase in income and you do have more expenses as a result of that increase in income. You can update your budget. It's not a static thing, and don't beat yourself too much for updating it. I won't say every month, but at least quarterly, really take an assessment of if your goals are the same. Again, life is not static, so your budget doesn't need to be either. Are your goals the same? If every quarter, look at it and see if your goals have changed, then your budget can also change to match your new goals. Suppose you just had a baby, or you actually did buy that car, so now you have to think about the maintenance of the car. You have more expenses to consider in that achieving one of your life goals, if you did achieve one. So yeah, it's a good process to look back and update your budget based on your changes that are happening in your life. And yeah, that's it for me. I really thank you guys for listening to me for the past hour on budgeting. And you can find my templates, the website's on the screen, Financial Sensibility, and you can find me on Twitter at Miss Jilly J.
Thank you so much, Jilly. Like, you did a whole masterclass just now. a full masterclass. So we really, really appreciate it, from talking about goal setting to actually walking through the templates. And the templates, girl, are amazing. So I encourage our audience, our viewers, to go to the website and actually utilize it. Don't let this be stagnant knowledge. Actually utilize it. Apply what you've learned here so that you can in fact have a better future for yourself and for your children, generations to come. We're talking about generational wealth here, right? So fantastic job, Jilly. We appreciate it so much. I noted that you said that you don't usually walk through your templates, but you did it for us.
Yeah, I've done it before.
Yes, thank you. We surely appreciate that. And there are a few other things you mentioned that I thought were particularly impactful. So you did mention the 50-30-20 rule, and you said that for some persons it will look a little different. So for me, for example, I tithe, and so it does not look like 50-30-20
Which is
at
fine.
the end of the day, right? And my initial struggle was, how do I balance that? Because there's a 50-30-20, and there's a 70-10-10-10, and there's there's so many different so many different ways and ratios. So how would you encourage someone who has that challenge with finding which ratio is right for them? How would you direct them to find the right one based on their lifestyle?
All right. Well, again, I would say pay yourself first. So put what your savings goal is first. So if it is 10, 15, 20, whatever you can manage right now, and you're still able to live. If you all right, so if you say put away 20 for your savings, or even 15 for your savings, and you realize the rest of it, the rest of the 85 is stuff that you need. So you need food and transportation and clothing. So you're in a problem right there. So you really think about your specific situation. And if you put away the 10 or 15 and you have to cut down on some of your needs, it might be a struggle. So you probably have to cut down the savings for this bit until you can get enough income to really meet the needs that you have, including ensuring that you make your commitments to your tithes and you give back, because whatever you give back, it's said that you will get it back tenfold. So make sure you have, if you have that discipline, you can put away something to commit to give and donate, so you have a little space to do that and also meet your needs and your wants. Your wants it's gonna take some sacrifice. It's not gonna be easy from the get-go. This budgeting exercise and this saving exercise might really show you that there's some sacrifices that are going to have to be made. And short-term sacrifices to save and to put things in place where you're not overspending will benefit you in the long run. You don't need that shoes necessarily. Yes, you need to eat, but what are you eating? So you don't need to eat the fast food every day. Make a little sandwich and carry. You don't have to be balling and rolling every day. So if it is that you're struggling to meet your needs, really take a look at what you're saying or what you're eating and where you're going. Find ways to cut down so that you can put your commitments as priority. So it really goes back to goal setting. Your priority, yes, yourself, your savings should be our priority. That's what I'm suggesting. But some people, their tithes might be their priority. So when you set your goals, whatever your priority is, when I had volunteering up there, volunteering and church could have been your number one priority. So put your prioritize it that way. So you have to take a look at your situation, what your objectives are and what your priorities are.
Solid advice. Thank you. So for the audience, if you have any questions for Jilly, please feel free to drop them in the comments now, drop them in the chat now, and Jilly will respond. So while we're waiting on that, I'll share a little bit about my own experience with budgeting. So I would have said that I tithe, right? I tithe now. That wasn't always the case. I didn't grow up in a Christian household, so I didn't grow up with tithing as a normal thing for me. So when I became a Christian and I got this nudge now to actually start tithing, I was like, whoa, that's kind of significant, because I am penciling it out and I'm saying, man, this 10% thing, 10% of gross at that look rough. Like how is it going to work out? I can't see how ends are going to meet with this. And at the time too, it was one income. It was only my income for the household at that time. And it was just crazy. And I can tell you the tears and anxiety and the frustrations and how much like angst was there just to actually pay over the tithe and then try and pay everything else, But what I learned from that experience is truly, truly, truly that when you put God first, He takes care of everything else. The first 2 months, I had straight up anxiety attacks when I sat around the computer to make that transfer. And by the third month, I'm like, but there's nothing to worry about because everything is covered. Every single thing is covered. And so it's just my encouragement. And it was covered in various ways. We had a business that was closed and people would just start paying us for outstanding things that we weren't seeking the money, but they were paying it. And we're like, what? Thank you, God. So it's just to encourage persons, because I know that we do have a mixed audience here, but it's to encourage persons to let you know that it's not something to be afraid of. it is something to embrace in terms of tithing and truly putting God first in all that you do. When we say that this community is founded on Deuteronomy 8:18, which says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth," we are serious. We really mean it. It is something that we have lived and experienced, and we encourage you, if you want to test God in anything, test Him with your money, trust Him with your money, and see what He does in that area. So I am not seeing any questions for you, Jilly. I'm not seeing any questions at this time. But again, thank you so much. I think we need to rename this like a masterclass because it was so good. Such rich content and such a timely reminder for us. We're almost at the half year mark in 2021, and it's not too late to still do a budget, to still get yourself on track with your spending.
Definitely not too late.
Absolutely not. All right, guys. So finally, it's just a reminder for you to, yes, indeed, she was clear and concise, Samoyo. Excellent presentation. Carfree came and says so. Yes, indeed, Jelly. You were a hit. I saw someone earlier, they did a full rundown saying that, they're a trainer and they love the fact that your slides were so great. Not too much text, not all in caps, good color choice, and delivery was clear. Girl, you got a full breakdown.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Indeed. And I noticed it too. I was like, yes, I like it. So yeah, so since it was such a valuable presentation for everyone, we're just asking you to like and share. Make sure that if you're not already subscribed, to subscribe to the channel for more solid content just like this. And if you have not yet ordered your Learn, Grow, Invest t-shirt, know that they are here and they're ready. So you can access the link in the description and place your order today. So thank you again, Jilly. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and we will see you next week. Have a fantastic week.
You too. Thanks again.